Toxoplasma gondii torch. Toxoplasma gondii, shown by the gondii in a tux with the plasma TV, is a parasitic protozoa that can cause congenital torch infection, the torch in the picture, in a fetus whose mother contracts the disease during pregnancy. Mothers who contract the disease are often asymptomatic, shown by her smiling face, and rarely have lymphadenopathy, shown by the lymph line with the @ sign. Nonspecific signs common to many torch infections include hepatosplenomegaly, jaundice, and thrombocytopenia, depicted by the yellow torch made of a liver, and a trombone peanut. Common symptoms in infants with congenital infection include intrauterine growth retardation, shown by the babies in the C-clamp stroller, hepatosplenomegaly, the enlarged liver and spleen balloons, deafness, the baby's headphones, chorioretinitis, the red Oreo tin eyes, and hydrocephalus, the hydrus coming from the head. Congenital toxoplasmosis is also commonly associated with nodular calcifications in the basal ganglia, illustrated by the calcified cow playing the bass guitar.
Gandhi can afford such a nice tux because of a jump in plasma sales. It's all thanks to the tactics he started using, including attracting customers with music from the calcified cow playing the bass guitar, and bringing light to his shop from the specialized torch. Today, this pregnant mom with a lymph ad hanging on is ready to spend some dough and brings along her intrauterine children in the C-clamp stroller. Gandhi knows how to please his customers and hands the child with the cute headphones on a giant liver and spleen balloons. But this child's twin didn't get anything, and his red tin Oreo eyes burn with envy as the hydra in his head react by popping the spleen balloon.
Syphilis torch. Syphilis is a spirochete bacterial infection that can cause congenital torch infection. Syphilis is portrayed in this picmonic by Sisyphus, a character from Greek mythology that was condemned to push a boulder up a hill only to watch it roll back down and to repeat this action over and over. The spirals on the boulder represent spirochete. Torch infections are always portrayed in the picmonic by a special torch which illustrates several nonspecific torch symptoms common to many of the torch infections, like hepatosplenomegaly, shown by the liver-shaped flame on the torch, jaundice, shown by the yellow color of the torch, and thrombocytopenia, the trombone peanut torch handle. Congenital syphilis can result in stillbirth, shown by the stone baby statue, or cause hydrops fetalis of the infant, portrayed by the stone baby squeezing the eyedropper with fetus inside the drops. If the child survives, deformities of the bone are common, including notched teeth, saddle nose, the saddle on the nose of the stone baby statue, and saber shins, the saber-toothed tiger biting the shin of Sisyphus. Inflammation of the cornea in congenital syphilis can lead to blindness, portrayed by the glasses with blinds, and sensorineural hearing loss, the headphones covering the ears. Hepatitis, shown by the inflamed liver, is also a known manifestation of congenital syphilis.
After pushing the spirochete boulder up the hill only to watch it roll back down for years and years, Sisyphus decided he needed a change. He thought it would be a great idea to build a stone statue with a built-in fetus eyedropper fountain. Sisyphus chiseled away for days, holding his rock steady the whole time. He wanted the statue to look cool, so he dressed the statue in the latest fashions with a set of headphones, a sweet pair of blinds, and a saddle on the nose. I don't know where he gets this fashion sense. As he was putting the finishing touches on the mouth, a saber-toothed tiger with a specialized torch grabbed his shin while Sisyphus was in mid-swing, causing him to miss and hit the chin, giving the statue a short maxilla and revealing its notched teeth.
CMV torch. Cytomegalovirus is a DNA virus that can cause congenital torch infections. Cytomegalovirus is portrayed by the cytomegalovirus. The torch infections are portrayed by the specialized torch. Nonspecific torch symptoms that are common in many of the torch infections include hepatosplenomegaly, shown by the liver in the shape of a torch, jaundice, the yellow torch, and thrombocytopenia, shown by the trombone peanut torch. A common neonatal manifestation more specific to the cytomegalovirus infection is deafness, shown by the headphones covering the ears. Other common neonatal manifestations include intrauterine growth retardation, portrayed by the C-clamp representing growth retardation within the uterus, and periventricular calcifications, depicted by the calcified cow with the pear-shaped head. Additional manifestations include seizures, seizure, and petechial rash, shown by the tiki mask. Newborns with congenital CMV infection are usually diagnosed because the virus is detected in urine cultures, shown by Caesar using the urinal. The cytomegalovirus was having a blast at the tiki party with his tiki mask, when suddenly he had to go to the bathroom. He waited outside of the uterus bathroom for hours. When he finally couldn't wait any longer, he decided to burst in and shed some light on the situation with his specialized torch. He found Caesar, deaf to the world with his headphones on, trying to get a little more cultured at the urinal by reading his tarred book. He even set up a special contraption by the urinal to hold up his book for him. Needless to say, cytomegalovirus was pretty pissed. The pear-headed calcified cow tries to warn Caesar that cytomegalovirus means business. HIV CD50. HIV specifically targets CD4 cells, leading to a gradual decline of CD4 cells and the immune system. Individuals are susceptible to certain diseases depending on their CD count. When HIV patients have CD counts less than 50, shown by the rapper with an AIDS Band-Aid handing out 50-cent CDs, they are susceptible to cytomegalovirus esophagitis and retinitis, depicted by cytomegalovirus pushing the esophagus sarcophagus with red tin eyes. Those with CD counts less than 50 are also susceptible to disseminated Mycobacterium avium intracellulare, avian birds with mics inside the cells, and cryptococcal meningoencephalitis, the crippled cock with men in tights and an inflamed brain. The man with a Band-Aid on his forehead is smuggling 50-cent CDs to his fellow prisoners. In order to sneak into the prison, he hid inside a giant sarcophagus with red tin can eyes and asked his sidekick friend, Cytovirus, to push him through the gate. Although he made it inside undetected, the trade was compromised by birds holding microphones and men in tights that are attacking the crippled cock and lighting his brain on fire. This is why it is important to stay out of trouble. HIV CD400. HIV specifically targets CD4 cells, leading to a gradual decline of CD4 cells and the immune system. Individuals are susceptible to certain diseases depending on their CD count. When HIV patients have CD counts less than 400, shown by the character with the AIDS Band-Aid driving the CD400 forklift, they are susceptible to oral thrush, shown by the trash coming out of the mouth. Tinea pedis, the fun guy on the foot, reactivation varicella zoster virus, the varsity jacket Zorro, reactivation TB, the TB-TV, and several bacterial infections, shown by the bacteria character. This CD400 forklifter is driven by a man with a big Band-Aid because he is hurt. He has worked too hard to run into trouble, but the mischievous Varsity Zorro man is sitting on the TV that the poor Band-Aid man is trying to move. Varsity Zorro sticks his smelly fungus foot in the air, causing the bacteria guy to vomit right into the trash can. HIV CD200. HIV specifically targets CD4 cells, leading to a gradual decline of CD4 cells and the immune system. Individuals are susceptible to certain diseases depending on their CD count. When HIV patients have CD counts of less than 200, shown by the CD200 tooth fairy with an AIDS Band-Aid, they are susceptible to infections caused by reactivation of herpes simplex virus, represented by the HARP virus, cryptosporidiosis, the crypto keeper, isospora, the ice spores, disseminated coccidioidomycosis, shown by the disseminated cocci spherules, and pneumocystis pneumonia, the nude Mona sisters. This is not your typical night. The innocent nude Mona sisters have just fallen asleep after the harp girl tucked them in when the creepy seedy disc head tutu-wearing tooth fairy with funky glasses shows up to collect little ice spores under the pillows. In return for the ice spores, he sprinkles cocci spores in the air to help the sisters sleep. This is an especially creepy night because the crypto creeper has been summoned from under HIV CD100. HIV specifically targets CD4 cells, leading to a gradual decline of CD4 cells and the immune system. Individuals are susceptible to certain diseases depending on their CD count. When HIV patients have CD counts less than 100, shown by the $100 bill with an AIDS Band-Aid on Benjamin Franklin being exchanged for a CD, they are susceptible to infections including Candida esophagitis, the esophagus sarcophagus with Canadian flag, toxoplasmosis, Gandhi and a tux with the plasma TV, and histoplasmosis, the history channel on the plasma TV. The esophagus wearing a Canadian flag is paying Tuxedo Gandhi TV salesman $100 for his CD. Must not forget to remove the Band-Aid from the $100 bill. Toxoplasma gondii. Toxoplasma gondii, the Gandhi in a tux with a plasma TV, is a parasitic protozoa, represented by the protozoa propeller, that causes the disease toxoplasmosis. The disease is transmitted to humans via consumption of undercooked meat containing cysts, or ingestion of cysts from cat feces, shown by the cyst sisters on the raw steak and the cat defecating in the litter box. The immunocompromised can develop severe disease, including brain abscesses, depicted by the guy with the AIDS Band-Aid holding up the abscess character with his brain showing. Classically, the brain abscesses caused by Toxoplasma gondii appear as multiple ring-enhancing lesions on imaging, represented by the abscess character with multiple rings. The organism can also cross the placenta, illustrated by the pregnant lady, and can cause congenital torch infection, shown by the torch. Treatment includes pyrimethamine, the pirate moth, and sulfadiazine, illustrated by the sulfur match made of dice.
Tux Gandhi has wandered into the wrong neighborhood after buying his new plasma. Little did he know his plasma was faulty due to a protozoa propeller. As he lit his torch to find his way home, he found himself face to face with the brain abscess guy, who was selling multiple rings being supported by a kid with a large Band-Aid. As he's about to say no, he sees a pregnant woman scooping meat out of a litter box that she's about to share with her sisters. Tux Gandhi realizes the people of this street need his help and offers to buy all the rings. The pirate Mothman with sulfur dice behind the dumpster is pleased.
Sporothrix. Sporothrix schenki, shown here as the Sporothrix, is a fungus that has cigar-shaped yeast on microscopic examination. It is also called a rose gardener's disease, where patients develop a pustule or ulcer, the ulcer volcano after a rose thorn prick. People that often handle packing peat moss can also develop the disease. In addition to the ulcer, people can develop nodules on draining lymphatics, illustrated by the lymph limes. Treatment of choice includes itraconazole, portrayed by the I in the whole of the A, and potassium iodide, illustrated by the banana and the beta iodine bottle.
Every rose packed in peat moss has its thorn. Just like every breakfast isn't complete without Sporothrix. Just ask fungi. And who doesn't like bananas with a little iodine in their spore cereal? Squirt some lymph lime juice on there and you'll drain your bowl to the last drop. You'll enjoy it regardless of what's happening around you, even if a nearby ulcer volcano is erupting. In fact, you'll enjoy it so much that you'll indulge yourself with a cigar of unequal budding ashes. And what cereal box is complete without a prize? An eye on the A-hole decoder ring promises hours of entertainment.
Candida albicans. Candida albicans, portrayed by the Canadian owl can, is a fungus, shown by the fungi that causes opportunistic oral and genital infections in humans. When cultured in a standard yeast medium at 20 degrees Celsius, C. albicans grows as yeast and can shift to pseudohyphal growth, portrayed by the sumo growing hyphae from the pot labeled 20 degrees. At 37 degrees, the fungus demonstrates germ tube formation, illustrated by the actual shape of germ tube formation in a test tube. This organism is a normal constituent of oral, gut, and vaginal flora, and causes disease when there is overgrowth of the fungus. It is a common cause of vaginitis, shown by the vaginal flower, commonly called a yeast infection, which causes intense pruritus, shown by the prairie dog scratching the flower, and a characteristic white cottage cheese-like discharge. Irritation of the vaginal mucosa often causes a fiery red appearance of the mucosal tissue, shown by the flames around the vagina flower. Individuals that are diabetic, the pancreas with dyed beads. And taking antibiotics, the antibiotic character, are at increased risk for Candida vaginitis. Candida albicans can also cause esophageal thrush in the immunocompromised, represented by the esophagus sarcophagus with thrush and an AIDS Band-Aid. Additionally, the fungus can cause diaper rash, shown by the diaper with a rash being examined by the dermatologist, and has the potential to cause endocarditis, especially in IV drug users, portrayed by the heart card in the donut with a syringe.
Quite a crowd today at the annual plant growing competition. This year's special theme is using trash found in the esophagus sarcophagus as compost. To the left, the sumo shows off his pseudohyphae, especially grown at 20 degrees Celsius. This one seems to be the one that Mr. Fun Guy approves of. Sumo doesn't even notice his admirers, as he's too busy ingesting the donut heart card pumped with extra good stuff. In the middle, the Canadian owl shows off his beautiful germ tube, that specially germinates at 37 degrees. He knows he has a real winner this year and decides to show up even though he has a mean case of diaper rash. On the very right, pruritic prairie dog shows off his flaming purple flower that oddly resembles a vagina. This plant is specially grown using cottage cheese fertilizer, a secret he learned from the hippie pancreas and antibiotic guy.
Aspergillus. Aspergillus, shown by the asparagus, is a genus of fungi, the fungi, which can cause several diseases in humans. Unlike many other systemic fungi, Aspergillus is monomorphic, illustrated by the monomorphic man, and can be identified by septate hyphae, the septor hyphae that branches at acute angles. These organisms can demonstrate fruiting bodies, portrayed by the different kinds of fruit growing from the branches, which are conidial heads that produce spores. The most common forms of disease are allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis, pulmonary aspergilloma, and invasive aspergillosis. Allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis, depicted by the alligator in the lungs chasing an asparagus, is caused by a hypersensitivity to the spores of Aspergillus molds. It is characterized by numerous eosinophils, shown by the eosinophilic eagle, and elevated levels of IgE, the electric goblin. A pulmonary aspergilloma, the asparagus gnome on the other side of the lung, refers to growth of the fungus within a cavity of the lung previously formed during an illness such as TB, shown by the TB-TV. The spores penetrate the cavity and germinate, causing the formation of a fungal ball. Hemoptysis, the red mop, is a common symptom of this form of disease. Individuals with immunosuppression, represented by the AIDS Band-Aid, or individuals with chronic granulomatous disease, the old crone grandma on a llama, are susceptible to invasive aspergillosis, portrayed by the asparagus characters invading the house. In invasive aspergillosis, the fungus transfers from the lungs to the bloodstream and can cause hemorrhagic infarctions, depicted by the asparagus farting on the red fens, and necrotizing bronchopneumonia in the lungs, shown by the nude Mona riding the bronco with a necrosis crow.
Sound the alarms! The lunghouse is under attack by a mob of angry asparagus with nude Mona on a bronco with her necrosis crow leading the way. In the right lobe of the house, the allergy alligator won't let the invading asparagus get far as he protects his house from the chimney with the help of the electric goblin from atop the eosinophilic eagle. In the left lobe of the house, the asparagus gnome just goes about his business mopping up coughed blood from the fungi hiding in the TB-TV cavity. But these asparagus are determined to get through, even revealing a secret weapon of causing the gates to infarct via farting. It's too bad this lovely home is under so much pressure. It especially has a beautiful fruiting body tree with angled branches from the scepter trunk. This tree is actually a hotspot for couples young and old, as we can see the mono man courting the hand of the crone granny on the llama, even though she has a large band-aid.
Streptococcus pneumoniae, the stripper nude Mona in this picture, is a gram-positive diplococci that is a major cause of pneumonia, the nude Mona. Classically, this pneumonia is characterized by rusty sputum, shown by the rusty stripper pole, which can help with clinical diagnosis. This bacteria is also one of the most common causes of bacterial meningitis, the meningitis, and is the most common bacterial pathogen to cause otitis media, the oats in the sinner's ear. Strep pneumonia can also cause acute bacterial sinusitis, here the red sinner with the large nose, and causes sepsis in patients with splenectomies, illustrated by the sepsis snake in the purple spleen stage.
The men in tights couldn't believe it when their big-nosed sinner boss told them he was taking them to see the stripper nude Mona. She generated quite the scene when she decided to get off the wall and onto the spleen stage while hanging her frame on the rusty stripper pole. Originally, she was opposed to the idea, but after the sepsis snake assured her that she would be personally protected for her safety, she quickly agreed. The big-nosed sinner is such a regular for making it rain at the club, he's now growing oats out of his ear as a sign of his nasty sins.
Strep pneumonia characteristics. Streptococcus pneumonia, illustrated by nude Mona in stripper attire, is a gram-positive cockeye bacteria, the gram-positive angel who is cockeyed. This organism has a distinctive morphology on gram stain called lancet-shaped diplococci, shown by the lans. Characteristically, strep pneumonia is alpha hemolytic, shown by the Afro Petri dish, and is catalase negative, shown by the negative cat. Strep pneumonia can be differentiated from strep viridans because it is optotion sensitive, depicted by the sensitive crying octopus, and is bile-soluble, shown by the bile Nile. This organism is also encapsulated, the capsule, with a positive quell-lung reaction, illustrated by the quail with its lung showing. Strep pneumonia also releases IgA proteases, represented by the apple goblin riding the ace card with propeller, which leads to increased pathogenicity. Don't forget, IgA, apple goblin. Proteases, propeller ace.
The apple goblin had been on the trail of the art thief's quail lung and negative cat for weeks and finally caught up to them. "Step on it, gram-positive," IgA yelled. They raced up the bile Nile on the IgA's propeller ace boat. Unfortunately for the octopus, the IgA's cocked-eyed little friend is not the best driver and accidentally ran him over. IgA pulled out his lance and took a stab at the negative cat. But the thief had a trick up his sleeve and pulled out an afro shield blocking his attempts. The problem is, if the cat is fighting the IgA and the quail is busy tying up the stolen art piece of the stripper nude Mona, then who is driving the capsule boat?
Staph aureus disease. Staphylococcus aureus, represented in this picmonic as a staph of Oreos, is a gram-positive cocci that can cause a wide range of illnesses. On the skin, it can cause a variety of skin infections, including pimples, impetigo, furuncles, cellulitis, shown by the man wearing a skin suit, and can also cause abscesses in the skin, illustrated by the abscess character pouring lotion on nude Mona's skin. The organism can also cause severe pneumonia, represented by the nude Mona Lisa, particularly following viral influenza. Additionally, Staph aureus can cause disease mediated by toxins. Some strains produce toxic shock syndrome toxin 1, represented by the tampon getting shocked by the electric fence. This toxin acts as a superantigen, which simultaneously binds MHC2 and T-cell receptors, causing polyclonal T-cell activation, depicted by multiple tennis balls representing T-cells binding to the MHC2 complex in a tutu. Some strains produce exfoliative toxin, the guy exfoliating his face, which can cause scalded skin syndrome, portrayed by his scalded skin. Some strains produce an enterotoxin, causing food poisoning, shown by the egg salad on the toilet. Staph aureus can also cause a life-threatening acute bacterial endocarditis, depicted by the bacteria offering a donut with hard cards inside. Donut cards inside, endocarditis. And osteomyelitis, shown by the skeleton in flames.
It's a nice day for lying out in the sun in this country club, as long as you try to ignore the guy in the skin suit who offers Oreos from his staff from atop the porcelain throne. Make sure you pass when he offers you the egg salad that has been sitting there for days. The bacteria guy looks harmless, though, as he offers a donut full of heart cards. Nude Mona is all sorts of ready to get her tan on, and the abscess is more than happy to lather her up in lotion. If you try to exfoliate in the sun too long, you'll end up like the guy with scalded skin. And if you stay even longer, you'll dry up even more, leaving nothing but bones and flames. This country club is not easy to get into due to the high voltage gate, and this tampon feels the shock as he tries to sneak in from the tennis courts after all his balls get stuck on the MHC2 receptor.
Staphylococcus aureus. Staphylococcus aureus, staph of Oreos, is a gram-positive bacteria, gram-positive angel that is a cocci, cocked eyes. It is frequently found as normal flora on the skin and nasal passages, but can cause a wide range of illnesses, from minor skin infections to life-threatening disease, like pneumonia, osteomyelitis, and endocarditis. Characteristically, Staph aureus is catalase positive cat, which is helpful in distinguishing staphylococci from catalase-negative gram-positive cocci like streptococci and enterococci. Staph aureus can also be differentiated from other staphylococcal organisms because it is coagulase positive, the positive clogs. This organism is beta-hemolytic, shown by the beta fish on a petri dish, and contains protein A, shown by the protein structure character with an apple head. This structure is an IgG binding protein that binds to the Fc region of the antibody and plays a role in inhibiting phagocytosis, depicted by the dead Mac man. Methicillin-resistant Staph aureus, commonly called MRSA, shown by the Mr. Saw, is a strain of Staph aureus that has become resistant to most antibiotics. The mechanism of resistance in MRSA is altered penicillin-binding proteins, shown by the saw hitting the PBJ sandwich.
Legend has it only the one with the purest of heart can harvest the power of the staph of Oreo. Many have tried and many have failed, like the yellow Mac man who was killed by the apple ribbon protein man. The positive cat with her positive clogs and PBP shield is the only one worthy of the staph. Even the beta fish in petri dish and Mr. Saw cannot get in her way because the cocked eye angel has already blessed her with the power.
Syphilis treponema pallidum. Syphilis, portrayed in this picmonic by Sisyphus, is caused by the bacteria Treponema pallidum, tripod pendulum. The bacteria is a spirochete with characteristic motility, represented by the action lines on the spiral spirochete. Syphilis has 3 different stages of disease. In primary syphilis, patients present with a painless chancre, portrayed by the chain car. Note that the chain car is crashing into a region of the body that normally causes pain, but syphilis is smiling like a champ. If untreated, 1/3 of patients can progress to secondary syphilis, where patients can get condylomata lata, condom latte, and generalized lymphadenopathy, Lyme with add signs. Patients also get a characteristic rash on palms and soles. If untreated for long periods of time, some patients can progress to tertiary syphilis, which includes aortitis, aorta orca, gummus, portrayed by the bubble gum with granuloma inside, as well as neurosyphilis, portrayed by the neurons. Other manifestations include Argyll-Robertson pupils, Argyll pattern eyes, damage to the vasovasorum, depicted by vases inside vases on the aorta orca vessels, and tabes dorsalis, table door. Treatment is penicillin, shown by the pencilvillain. However, some patients get a severe reaction to penicillin called Jarisch-Herxheimer, represented by the picture of the Jewish Hercules that pencil villain is holding.
We find ourselves at the swingers' podium, where swingers like Sisyphus want to capture their moment in time by using a swinging tripod pendulum. He's come a long way from being forced to eternally roll his boulder up a hill, and since then his name has become synonymous with difficulty to overcome. But cunning as he is, Sisyphus found a way to increase his boulder's mobility by attaching spirochete strings. He's so happy about being the #1 swinger that he didn't feel any pain when he crashed his chain car. His wingman, the limeade man, is quick to offer women his condom latte, but he's in such a hurry that he doesn't let it cool off, so it burns his hands and then he spills it on his feet. Their orca friend doesn't realize the tertiary look is dated, so he's had trouble presenting himself. Furthering his social awkwardness, he forgoes flowers to put more vases inside his vases. He just gives up and chews gum while lying on a table door. It's a wonder the neurons holding it up haven't collapsed yet. Pencil Villain is here to make them look as good as Jewish Hercules before taking the picture.
Pseudomonas symptoms. Pseudomonas aeruginosa, shown by the sumo wrestler version of the Mona Lisa, is a gram-negative bacteria that can cause a wide variety of infections in humans. The organism most commonly infects the pulmonary tract, causing a diffuse pneumonia, represented by the Mona Lisa. Individuals with cystic fibrosis are especially at risk for Pseudomonas infections in the lungs, portrayed by the sisters with a fabric towels. Cystic fibrosis, sister's fabric. It is the most common cause of infections and burn injuries, shown by the running man on fire, and is also a common cause of hot tub folliculitis, represented with a hot tub scene. This organism is a frequent colonizer of medical devices, including catheters, and can cause nosocomial urinary tract infections, shown by the kidney and bladder in flames. It is also frequently associated with osteomyelitis in IV drug users, the skeleton shooting up, and puncture wounds of the foot through shoes, shown by the skeleton's boot getting punctured. Diabetic patients are particularly at high risk for osteomyelitis occurring via this mechanism, portrayed by the pancreas with dyed beads puncturing the skeleton's boot. Dyed beads, diabetes. This organism is implicated in corneal infections in contact lens users, shown by the contact case-shaped hot tubs, and can also cause endocarditis when in the bloodstream. The heart card in the donut. Endocarditis, donut with card inside. Additionally, Pseudomonas is associated with purple-black skin lesions called ecthyma gangrenosum, illustrated by the green gang eating eggs.
Sumo Mona Lisa is all about living a life of extravagance with her friends. She keeps her weight up by putting whatever she wants in donuts, including heart cards. And she makes sure her gang of green friends has plenty of eggs to eat. While any normal hot tub would have sufficed for warming her follicles, she wanted to double the fun by using a giant contact lens case. Both pools are fed hot water by the flaming urinary tract. And she even has a pair of sisters with fibrous towels standing by to dry everyone off. But keeping her hot tub so warm is now without risks, as one of her burning friends has come to find her. Unfortunately, a member of her entourage has partied a little too hard with IV drugs and has been reduced to nothing but bones. Dyed bead pancreas, however, doesn't believe that one can ever party too hard. So he helps his bony companion double down by puncturing his shoe with even more IV drugs.
Pseudomonas characteristics. Pseudomonas, sumo mona, is a gram-negative bacillus, shown by the gram-negative devil using a rod to pop a balloon. This is an aerobic organism, illustrated by the gram-negative devil in an aerobic workout suit, and is known for secreting pyocyanin pigment, shown by the pie getting stabbed by a sai held by a pig, pyocyanin pigment. This pigment is blue-green in color, hence the blue-green colored pig, and has a grape-like odor, the grapes on the pie. It can be distinguished from other gram-negative organisms because it is non-lactose fermenting, non, which represents non, holding a lactose milk carton with ferns, non-lactose fermenting. Pseudomonas is also oxidase positive, shown by the ox daisies and catalase positive, positive cat. This bacteria has a polysaccharide capsule, poly in a sac with a pill capsule, that is an important virulence factor, especially in cystic fibrosis. Other virulence factors include both endotoxin, portrayed by the unpopped red toxic balloon for endotoxin, as well as exotoxin, called exotoxin A, portrayed by the popped toxic balloon with A's shooting out, exotoxin A. Exotoxin A has a similar mechanism of action to diphtheria toxin and inactivates elongation factor 2, abbreviated EF2, portrayed by the elongating elves in tutus. The organism is commonly described as being water-loving and is often transmitted from infected water sources, represented in this picmonic by the water tank.
It's Sumamona's birthday, and she's throwing quite the festive party. She even gets to have Polly the parrot sit on her enormous shoulders for the whole day. Her favorite food, grape pie, is on the table, and the blue-green pig cuts into it with the sai. Good thing the nun didn't forget to bring the drinks, because nothing goes with grape pie like warm milk ferns. Her favorite friends, the elongating elves, are dressed to impress in their tutus and brings gifts of ox daisies. But some people are only there to ruin the fun. This gram-negative devil and the positive cat, from atop the water tower, shudders at the thought of carbs as they both spend their lives trying to look good and try to ruin the moment by bursting the toxic balloon, spilling A's all over Sumamona's guests. Good thing at least the red balloon is still intact.
Neisseria gonorrhea, portrayed by the knife gunnership, is a gram-negative diplococcic that causes the sexually transmitted infection gonorrhea. Symptoms of Neisseria gonorrhea infection differ depending on the specific site of infection. The most common site of infections is the genitals, which can result in a purulent and foul-smelling discharge as well as dysuria, shown by the pee on fire. In females, prolonged infection can result in pelvic inflammatory disease, inflamed ovaries, and uterus. Fitzhugh-Curtis syndrome, shown by the fist hitting a curtain over a liver, is a rare complication of pelvic inflammatory disease. The organism can also cause neonatal conjunctivitis, baby convict eye, and pharyngitis, the pharaoh firing the gun. Disseminated infections can occur causing septic arthritis, King Arthur fighting the sepsis snake, tenosynovitis, shown by the tiny snowmen, and pustules on the hands and feet. Individuals with a C6 through 9 complement deficiency, shown by the computer that says C6 through 9 on the screen, are especially vulnerable to disease. Ceftriaxone, chef with 3 axes, is commonly used in the treatment of Neisseria gonorrhea infections.
The Pharaoh and King Arthur have had enough of the tiny snowman in their town doing inappropriate things. They think just because they're inside the house, no one can see them watching C69 on their computers and giving each other flaming golden showers. In their excuse, he thought he was helping his friend out because his friend's uterus and ovaries were on fire, but their hands are stained green with pustules. The king and pharaoh get on their knife gunnership to bring a stop to this madness and fire off the neonatal convict eye to send a fist through the liver curtain and see what they are up to. But these guys won't stop their way so easily, especially with Sepsis Snake helping them out by attacking King Arthur and their personal chef standing guard with his 3 axes.
Neisseria gonorrhea, knife gunnership, is a gram-negative bacteria, gram-negative devil, with diplococci shape, double cockeyes. These bacteria are fastidious organisms that require nutrient supplementation to grow in laboratory cultures. Specifically, they grow on chocolate agar, chocolate bars, and can be isolated on Thayer Martin agar, shown by the thief stealing the Aston Martin car, also called VPN agar, VPN license plate. Characteristically, Neisseria gonorrhea is oxidase positive, ox daisies, and ferments glucose, ferns growing from glue bottles. Virulence mechanisms include pili, pillars, OPA surface proteins, represented by ants smashing plates and saying OPA, and antigenic variation, various ants with gems. These organisms also release IgA protease, shown by the apple goblin in a propeller plane with ace card wings.
This knife gunnership is in hot pursuit of a thief in a Thayer Martin. The guns are basically useless though, as the gram-negative devil is double cockeyed and couldn't aim if his life depended on it. His wingman, Apple Goblin, on the ace propeller, has identified the thief by his VPN license plate. And it's a good thing he has, as the thief has stolen a very prized chocolate bar. These ox daisies struggle to stay positive as he barely veers past them. After all, they're not glued in place like the nearby ferns. The pillars being passed by the thief would have provided a great vantage point for an ambush. It's too bad the various ant with gems are only cheering him on, yelling "Oppa!" and smashing plates in celebration as he passed by.
Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is caused by Microbacterium tuberculosis, shown by the bacteria with the mic in the TB-TV set. Mycobacterium are noted for having mycolic acid cell walls, portrayed by the lemon mic in the wall of the TV set, which makes them acid-fast, the lemon running with a sign. They stain to carbofuchsin red, shown by the red car bomb with a fuse. Cell smears from colonies have a distinctive look that resembles serpentine cords, depicted by the snake-like TV cord. Primary tuberculosis, portrayed by the left lung that says 1, is the form of disease that occurs in a previously unexposed person. Remember, 1 lung, primary tuberculosis. The inhaled bacillus can implant in the lower part of the upper lobe and cause a focus of inflammation and consolidation called a gone focus, illustrated by the skeleton finger focusing in on the small gong. Small gong, gone focus. The bacilli can drain into perihilar lobar lymph nodes, depicted by Hitler with a lymph line in his earlobe. This combination of a gone focus with perihilar lobar lymph node involvement constitutes a gone complex, illustrated by Hitler hitting the complex gong. Secondary tuberculosis, shown by the right lung that says 2 on it, usually occurs in previously exposed individuals. The apices of the upper lobes are typically involved, shown by the apex of the mountains in the upper regions of the lung, and can cause satiating granulomas, shown by the granny riding a llama eating cheese. Satiating, cheese eating. Granuloma, granny llama. Systemic symptoms commonly include fever, the fever beaver, weight loss, represented by the scale, and night sweats, shown by the sweating moon. Many patients also present with hemoptysis, shown by the red mop for hemoptysis. Tuberculosis can spread beyond the lungs when the bacteria disseminates through the systemic arterial system, illustrated by the skeleton character watching the TB-TV. In the adrenal glands, disseminated tuberculosis can cause Addison's disease, shown by the add signs on the sun in the adrenal glands above the kidneys. Addison, add sun. The kidneys can also be involved, shown by the mini TV sets in the kidneys, as well as the GI system and CNS. The liver is a common location for systemic miliary spread, shown by the liver and camouflage. Tuberculosis can travel to the bone, causing TB osteomyelitis, depicted by the skeleton in flames. When the vertebrae are specifically affected, the disease is referred to as pot disease, shown by the vertebra made of flower pots. Klebsiella. Klebsiella, portrayed here as the sea lion with a club, is a gram-negative bacteria that can cause a wide range of diseases. Klebsiella pneumonia is commonly associated with aspiration pneumonia, depicted as an ass pouring water on nude Mona. Alcoholics, represented by the alcohol bottle, and diabetics, the dyed beads pancreas, are often more susceptible to Klebsiella infections. Remember, diabetes, dyed beads. Patients with Klebsiella pneumonia often cough up characteristic sputum described as red currant jelly sputum, shown by the red currant jelly jar. Severe pneumonia can also lead to lung abscesses, the abscess character with lungs showing. Besides pneumonia, Klebsiella is also associated with nosocomial urinary tract infections, depicted by the man with the inflamed kidneys and bladder being wheeled into the ambulance. This has been one crazy night at Club Sea Lion, and the sea lion with the club is ready for the people to leave. The abscess with his lungs showing scarfed down his late-night snack of currant jelly a little too fast as he coughs it back up, and, as expected, some ass is pouring water on innocent nude Mona. Mr. Pancreas, with his dyed beads, isn't ready for the night to be over and continues to drink as he wheels his buddy with his kidney and bladder in flames to the ambulance.
Klebsiella, portrayed in this picmonic as a sea lion with a club, club sea lion, Klebsiella, is a gram-negative bacteria that is bacillus, illustrated with the gram-negative devil and rod. It is often part of the normal intestinal flora, portrayed by the floral flowers growing from the intestine. It has a prominent polysaccharide capsule, illustrated by the polyparrot with a capsule body and a sac, which has antiphagocytic properties, represented by the polycapsule sac tying up the macman. This organism has a positive quail-lung reaction, shown by the quail with the lungs. It can be differentiated from other gram-negative bacilli because it is oxidase-negative, the dead ox daisies, and is a fast lactose fermenter, shown by the ferns growing from the lactose milk carton running fast, which causes pink colonies on Mac conky agar, depicted by the pink monkey hanging on the fern. This bacteria is also notable for producing large mucoid colonies, represented by the dripping mucus.
That darn lactose fern. He plucked a negative ox daisy from the precious intestinal flower garden and has run off with it, leaving behind a trail of mucoid colonies. He's so fast, no one will ever be able to catch up to him, even with the pink monkey grabbing on for the ride. The sea lion shakes his club in the air in anger as the gram-negative devil points at him with the rod while explaining what happened to the quail-lung bystander. Little do they know that he was just a distraction as his partner in crime, Polysac Capsule, ties up the poor Macman with the intestinal rope.
E. coli. E. coli, shown by the E col on the I, is a gram-negative bacteria, the gram-negative devil, that is bacilli-shaped, the rod. These bacteria can be differentiated from other gram-negative rods by a distinctive black and blue metallic sheen when grown on EMB agar, shown by the metallic black and blue yin-yang. It is also lactose fermenting, shown here by the ferns growing from the milk carton, which causes growth of pink colonies on McConkey agar, the pink monkey grabbing onto the fern. Most E. coli strains are harmless, but pathogenic strains can cause disease and diarrhea, shown by the toilets. These strains are categorized based on elements that cause an immune response, including O antigen, P. pili, K antigen, and H antigen. O antigen is a component of the outer lipopolysaccharide membrane and can cause septic shock in individuals, depicted by the O portal with the sepsis snake. Some pathogenic strains contain P. pili, which binds to a specific disaccharide found on surfaces of uroepithelial cells. Therefore, strains with P. pili are strongly associated with urinary tract infections, illustrated by the P. pillars with the inflamed kidney and bladder. The K antigen refers to a polysaccharide capsule that surrounds some pathogenic strains of E. coli. Pathogenic strains of K antigen can cause neonatal meningitis, the menintites wearing a K capsule cap, and pneumonia, the pneumona wearing a K capsule cap. Of note, the H antigen refers to flagella, shown by the H ant with the flagellum. In this parallel universe, the world is divided into 4 quadrants that all belong to the E. coli. In the center of the world, this all-seeing eye maintains the balance of the universe. It rests on top of a black and blue metallic yin-yang plate where it draws its energy from the world around it. The eye is held high in the sky by a metal rod that stems from a lactose fern plant. The fern gives support to the pink monkey, who helps the eye rule the land. The 4 continents are divided by rivers and toilets, where the gram-negative devil sits with his rod. The land of the pillars on the upper right has always had a little fire problem, rendering it uninhabitable. The lower right continent is also uninhabitable because it has been overrun by ants with long tails. The continent in the upper left offers electric portals that transport deadly snakes from other worlds. The continent in the lower left is therefore the only livable land guarded by the pink monkey. Here, nude Mona and men in tights wear hats and enjoy a nice gathering without fire, pests, or deadly animals.
Chlamydia trachomatis. Chlamydia trachomatis, portrayed by the clam, is an obligate intracellular human pathogen that has 3 human serovars which cause the disease. Serovars A to C, depicted by the leftmost scene above the letters A, B, C, cause trachoma, shown by the tachoma truck, an infection of the eyes causing follicular conjunctivitis, the convict eye with long eyelash follicles, and blindness, shown by the blind glasses. This form is prevalent in Africa, represented by the African singers. Serovars L1 to 3, shown in the middle podium above the letters L1 to 3, cause lymphogranuloma venereum, the lymph-lyme granuloma, which is a sexually transmitted disease that causes buboes, the blue bow, and genital ulcers, portrayed by the genital gentleman with a volcano ulcer. Serovars D to K, represented by the DK character, is associated with urethritis and pelvic inflammatory disease, shown by the uterus and ovaries on fire. Infants that pass through the vaginal canal of women with this form during delivery can develop neonatal pneumonia, shown by the nude Mona holding the baby, which is characterized by a staccato cough. Infants can also develop neonatal conjunctivitis, shown by the baby convict eye.
It's the final round of judging on Picmonic Idol, and competition is stiff. All will be decided on their renditions of the Jackson 5 hit ABC, as easy as L123, as simple as D through K, sung on the clam microphones. The Harry Con I, with his blind backup singer, drove all the way from Africa on the Trachoma Tacoma, and the fans can't get enough of them. but it looks like they are getting outsung by the granny and the llama wearing her signature blue bow. She's singing so hard her face is turning lime green. She has caught the eye of the genital gentleman host, who grabs her hand to say hello. But there is a newcomer this year who surprises the DK judge with an unbelievably cute staccato cough. This neonate's mom will do anything for her child to win, even showing up nude and fighting past the pain of her uterus being on fire.
Chlamydia characteristics. Chlamydia, shown as the clam heads, is an obligate intracellular bacterium that lacks the ability to make ATP, portrayed by the clam heads with empty ATP battery packs chasing the epithelial cell with the ATP battery. The chlamydia cell wall lacks muramic acid, portrayed by the anti-sign on the mirror with lemons. Therefore, it does not stain with Gram stain, but can be visualized with Giemsa stain, shown by the gems. The bacterial life cycle include infective elementary body, represented by the elephants chasing the epithelial cell, which are the classic target of chlamydia infections. Inside the target cells, they form reticulate bodies which can replicate, depicted by the reproducing rats. The reticulate bodies create cytoplasmic inclusions within the infected cell, portrayed by the ink blots. Treatment includes doxycycline, illustrated by the doxant cycling, and azithromycin, shown as the zipper mice.
The clamheads are out to infect some victims, seeking the epithelial guy who stole their ATP battery. Without it, they can't replicate the rats, which are needed to keep the elephant infantry in line. And while the shining gems made them easy to spot, the same goes for the ink blots that epithelial guy is leaving behind. But there's another mouse these elephants should fear, and that's Zipper Mouse riding on the handlebars of Datsun Cycling. It's too bad their prison cell won't have a mirror to look in.
Bordetella pertussis. Bordetella pertussis is portrayed in this picmonic by the border with pearl tusks. This bacteria is a gram-negative bacteria, the gram-negative devil, with a coccobacillus shape, shown by the rod and spheres. This bacteria is the causative agent of whooping cough and is typically cultured on a specialized medium called Bordet genu agar, represented by the border Jenga towers on the petri dishes. Bordet genu, border Jenga. Bordetella pertussis produces the pertussis toxin, which is an ADP ribosylating AB toxin, shown by the ADP Red Bull with apple and B for A and B. This toxin catalyzes the inhibition of the GI subunit, which causes this inhibitory subunit to be locked in an inactive or off state, leading to an increase in CAMP. This is portrayed by the GI guy for GI subunit, tied up and being stepped on by the ADP Red Bull for inhibited, and the firing of CAMP from his gun. The increase in intracellular CAMP has several systemic effects, including lymphocytosis, shown by the histology of lymphocytes, as well as the lymph adds, and can also cause an increase in insulin, shown by the up arrow and the insulin syringes also being fired from the gun. The first 1 to 2 weeks of infection is typically called the Catarrh Hall phase, and is the phase in which patients are usually the most contagious, portrayed by the cat sign next to the sick baby passing an infection to another baby on the left side of the border. This phase is followed by a paroxysmal phase, which occurs during weeks 2 to 5 of infection, and is characterized by paroxysms of intense coughing, portrayed by the pear sign next to the coughing baby on the right side of the border. The paroxysms of intense coughing is occasionally followed by a loud inspiratory whooping sound, which leads to the name whooping cough, shown by the coughing baby sitting on a whoopee cushion. Erythromycin, the earth-throwing mice, can be used to hasten the eradication of the bacteria and help prevent spread. This border fence with specialized pearl tusks is under attack. The border was initially built to quarantine the infectious babies on the left side of the border from the rest of the world. Nobody was to go near them except the tricky gram-negative devil that was given the job of posting the cat sign on the rod and sphere. This border fence was given extra protection, including a lymphocyte moat to fend off invaders. But nothing could stop the ADP Red Bull controlled by the apple and bee who were determined to set the babies free. The ADP Red Bull tied up the GI guard and was about to run straight into him, causing him to misfire his guns of camps and insulin syringes high into the air. Now, it looks like their infection has spread to everybody, including the coughing baby sitting on a whoopee cushion next to the pear sign. Mother Earth tries to restore balance to the lands by throwing mice at the sick ones from atop the border Jenga towers.
Bartonella henselae. Bartonella henselae, shown by the bartender hen, is a gram-negative, the gram-negative devil. Pleomorphic, the platomorphic jar. Bacilli, shown by the rod. That can cause cat scratch fever, portrayed by the cat scratching the fever beaver. As the name suggests, cat scratch fever occurs after a cat scratch and is characterized by fever and lymphadenopathy, shown by the lymph line with the @ sign. This organism is also the cause of bacillary angiomatosis, which is the abnormal proliferation of blood vessels that form tumor-like masses in the skin and other organs, portrayed by the angel with a bat pointing to gross representations of bacillary angiomatosis. This manifestation is commonly seen in people with AIDS, shown by the AIDS Band-Aid, and does not occur in the immunocompetent. The skin lesions commonly mimic those seen in Kaposi's sarcoma, represented by the shark comb with a cape in the mime outfit. Unlike Kaposi's sarcoma, bacillary angiomatosis is a benign disease, illustrated by the benign bunny.
It's happy hour, and the bartender hen is busy pouring drinks in the pleomorphic cup, with a little direction from the gram-negative devil. Fever Beaver has already had an especially rough day because his devil of a cat won't stop scratching him, and adds a little extra lime to give his drink the kick it needs. The guy with the AIDS Band-Aid next to him also has had an equally rough day, as he keeps getting hit in the head with a bat by an angel standing on a nice-looking bunny. Good thing for him, it looks like the shark comb is getting tired of pretending to be nice in his mime outfit and is about to attack it.
Varicella zoster virus. Varicella zoster virus, the varsity Zorro virus, is the third of the 8 viruses in the herpes viridae family, shown by the harp virus on the 3 tree. This virus is an enveloped DNA virus, shown by the DNA double helix, with double-stranded linear genome, the double helix used as a clothesline. Primary infection results in chickenpox, shown by the chicken in the box with a rash. Adults that get infected with primary infection commonly have more severe disease manifestations and are more likely to experience complications such as pneumonia, the nude mona, or encephalitis, the brain on fire. Even when clinical symptoms resolve, the virus remains dormant in the trigeminal and dorsal root ganglia, shown by the 3 gems on the door, and can be reactive later in life to produce shingles, represented by the roof shingles. The organism can be identified by its Sank smear, the Z-tank, with visualization of multinucleated giant cells, the multinuclear giant shell, or the presence of Cowdrey A inclusions, here the drying cow. Antiviral drugs like acyclovir, The apple cyclovir can be used to reduce the severity and duration of infection.
Varsity Zorro always gets the girl, and Nude Mona couldn't be happier about it. She couldn't care less about the letters on his jacket. It's the love letter in this envelope that caught her attention. He's giving the letter to the harp virus on the 3-shaped tree so it can produce a romantic tune for his beautiful words. But Nude Mona knows that no one will understand just what he had to go through to win her love. First, Zorro rescued her from the possessive chicken in a box. His house may look inviting from the inside with its tri-gem door, but she couldn't stand another moment with that angry brain on fire. He even hung their only cow up to dry because it ate apples from the tree. He is protective of his apples because he trains the apples to become Cyclops guardians for his property. And this brings us to Varsity Zorro's second test, the tank. A little depth perception may have served the apple Cyclops well when firing a giant nuclear shell. He'll have fun replacing those shingles because of the misfire. The third test that proved Varsity Zorro such a well-balanced lover was his ability to escape on nothing but a double-stranded laundry line. These two are destined to be together.
Pox virus. Pox viruses, the fox virus in this scene, are envelope viruses with double-stranded DNA, shown by the DNA double helix, that has a linear genome, the zipline. This virus has a unique non-icosahedral structure, shown by the nun crossing her hands over the ice cathedral. Non-ice cathedral, non-icosahedral. This family of viruses is responsible for a number of human diseases, including smallpox, cowpox, and molluscum contagiosum. Smallpox, illustrated by the small baby fox, is an infectious disease that causes a characteristic maculopapular rash that has been eradicated. Cowpox, shown by the cow fox, is also a skin disease commonly seen in dairy maids. This family of pox viruses is also the cause of molluscum contagiosum, illustrated by the mollusks with the contagious green fumes, which causes a characteristic flesh-colored umbilicated lesion on the skin, portrayed by the umbilicated dimple on the mollusks.
The fox virus takes small fox for a ride on the double-stranded DNA zipline because there's a good report card inside of that envelope. Going to school at the Nuns' Ice Cathedral, he hated walking past the slimy mollusks in the smelly moat. The weird belly buttons on their flesh-colored shells always freaked him out for some reason. Not that he has anything against weird. In fact, one of his best friends is a cow fox, and he's glad for her helping hoof.
Herpes simplex virus. Herpes simplex virus, commonly called HSV, shown by the harp viruses with signs, is a virus from the Herpes viridae family. This family of viruses is enveloped, shown by the signs made of envelopes. It is a DNA virus, shown by the DNA double helix, with a double-stranded linear genome, the DNA double helix being used as a clothesline. There are two types of herpes simplex virus. Type 1 HSV usually occurs above the waist and can cause oral lesions, typically called cold sores. Other manifestations include herpetic gingivostomatitis, the ginger over the mouth, keratoconjunctivitis, the carrot eyes, and temporal lobe encephalitis, the brain inflames on the temple. After the patient begins to produce antibodies, HSV type 1 becomes latent in the trigeminal ganglia, shown by the 3 gems, and can become reactivated with certain stimuli, including stress and UV light. Type 2 HSV, the harp sign virus with a tutu, is primarily a sexually transmitted infection that can cause genital vesicles, portrayed by the genital gentleman wearing a vesicle vest. Infants that pass through the vaginal canal in a female with an outbreak of genital herpes can lead to neonatal herpes, shown by the baby, which is a tortuous infection. Type 2 HSV becomes latent in sacral ganglia, the sac in this picture. HSV infection can be diagnosed via visualization of organisms on tank smear, the Z-tank, which is a scraping of an ulcer base for evidence of multinucleated giant cells, the multinuclear shells. Cowdry body A inclusions, here the drying cow, are also present in herpes infection. Acyclovir, the apple cyclops, is an antiviral medication commonly used as treatment.
Apple Cyclops has had his one good eye on 3 temple gems for quite some time now, and today decided to take over with the help of his Z-tank. However, the temple has extra protection against enemies, as the all-knowing brain on fire warns the temple harpists that trouble is coming. Unfortunately for the temple, these harpists aren't exactly experts in the art of war. They do their best to set up a booby trap using double helix rope. They do not realize that these traps work best when unseen, and hang out the cow to dry and ask the baby in the sack to keep a bright light on it at all times. The harpists signal to each other using envelope signs, and the first harpist tries to distract the apple cyclops by putting carrots in her eyes and ginger in her mouth, while the second harpist calls on the help of the genital gentleman to distract him with beautiful music. Clearly, this booby trap fools no one, as the apple cyclops launches multinucleated giant shells from his tank.
Cytomegalovirus. Cytomegalovirus, shown by the side-toe megavirus, commonly called CMV, is an enveloped DNA virus, the DNA double helix. With double-stranded linear genome, the DNA double helix in a line. It is also called human herpes 5 virus, illustrated by the harp and the virus holding his hand up for a high five. This virus can cause a variety of infections in humans, including congenital infection in infants, shown by the baby, and is one of the tortuous infections, the baby holding a torch. In adults, infection can cause mononucleosis-like symptoms, the monkey with nuclear face. Unlike mononucleosis caused by Epstein-Barr virus, CMV mononucleosis has a negative monospot test due to negative heterophile antibodies, depicted by the hat of phials with a negative sign. CMV can also cause an inflammation of the retina and esophagus in the immunocompromised, portrayed by the red tin eyes and esophagus sarcophagus with the AIDS Band-Aid. Transplant recipients are especially at high risk for CMV infections, depicted by the train of plants. Visualization of owl's eye inclusions in a cell is highly specific for CMV infection and can aid in disease diagnosis.
All aboard on the transplant plant train led by the side-toe megavirus conductor who welcomes his guests with high five and soothing music from his harp. The baby in front of the train lights the way on the DNA double helix railroad tracks, but even with the bright light from the specialized torch, they can't see what lies ahead. The sarcophagus, taped up with Band-Aids, stares with his big red tin eyes as the train plant approaches. The nun with the negative phials in her head senses what's about to happen and uses her nuclear monkey friend to send a message via the trusted owl. Unfortunately, I don't think the conductor will get the message in time. I wonder who the sarcophagus crossed to get himself into such a mess.
Adenovirus. Adenovirus, portrayed by the advertisement on the billboard held up by viruses, is a non-enveloped, shown by the non-envelope, linear, the zip line, double-stranded DNA virus, the DNA double helix. Adenovirus can cause a variety of symptoms, including pharyngitis, here the pharaoh, conjunctivitis, the convict eye, and fever, the fever beaver. Adenovirus is often found in summer camps and spread via public swimming pools. It is also commonly spread in daycare centers, represented by the advertisement for a daycare center. Adenovirus is also the most common cause of acute viral hemorrhagic cystitis, portrayed by the bladder wrapped in red bandages with a red hammer. It can also cause a viral pneumonia, here the nude Mona.
Driving down the highway, you spot an unusual advertisement billboard about the Nuns Daycare Center. Looks like Pharaoh and his wife, nude Mona Lisa, cannot handle their fiery beaver baby after all. Even the convict eye knows not to get in this mess and is ziplining away to safety.